The United States is still the greatest country in the world. It has the best military, the best private sector, and in my opinion, financially, the most opportunities. But despite the great education and universities and all of the other things we love as Americans, we all know that America is quite dangerous. It is quite violent, especially in certain pockets of Black America. If you know these cities or have heard of them, you understand the fear that most of us have being there. Detroit, certain parts of Atlanta, Philadelphia, Memphis, Jackson, LA, and of course, Black Chicago. Now, Black Chicago is notorious for, not only its crime, but its drill rap and its perpetual dissing of dead people, dead rappers, of course. But before we get into that, I want to talk about the underlying issue affecting all of these cities, even though they have different cultures. Young Black men raised by single mothers. Now, this is no way to imply that these young Black men don't have the choice or their own agency or self-agency to get themselves out of the problem. I'm just talking about what I see in general. And there's a really good video about this brother by the name of Kyle Minerva, which is called Single Mothers Raise Weak Men. Let's play that clip.
Today we're talking about single mothers raise weak men. In my personal opinion, I believe that men that were raised by single mothers are at a significant disadvantage in society. These men are highly emotionally unstable. These men lack the critical thinking skills to get themselves out of situations. These are usually the hyper-masculine, hyper-aggressive, stereotypical Black men that you see on TV and in these movies and things like that, even though the majority of Black men are definitely not like that. And we have the numbers to prove that. You can just go look it up. These men definitely will perpetuate the cycle of single motherhood all over again. That's the system they were raised in. These men are emotionally unstable. And of course, it's not their fault that they were born into a situation where, they don't have a father around, but it is what it is. We got to talk about it. It's not their fault, but essentially, you gain some sense of self and you should know better and do better. But that's just not what it is, because women keep sleeping with these type of dudes. So if we talk about the critical thinking skills, these are the dudes that are quick to shoot, quick to fight. If you brush up against them, you apologize. They have something to prove. They have a big chip on their shoulder. And that just doesn't work for society. People die like that. People get hurt like that. And in situations where it's not really that serious, you shouldn't go from 0 to 100, right? There are certain instances where that is warranted, but in a general sense, if someone bumps into you, that's definitely unwarranted. But these dudes lack the critical thinking skills to get themselves out of a situation like that, or just acknowledge that it's just a petty situation. It's not worth your time. Like I said, these are the dudes that you will see yelling and screaming in society on women, on apps, like just doing highly irrational shit. Because these dudes are emotion-based. These men don't have a sense of logic and understanding, so their immediate reaction is to yell, scream, curse, in some cases put their hands on women, do all types of wild shit, end up back and forth in prison. That's because these men are emotional.
That takes us into what we're dealing with today. Chicago rapper Spenzo. Now, remember in the video that we just watched, a lot of Black men raised by single mothers lack the ability to make rational decisions. Now, of course, the Chicago rapper Spenzo, from what I hear in my research, he might be on drugs right now. I'm not sure. They say typically he doesn't do things like this, but he got into it with the father of a fallen Chicago gang member on Instagram. And Spenzo actually threatened the man. Well, after going back and forth and the guy was saying don't play with his son, don't talk about his son, Spenzo was talking trash on Instagram. Now, he had to be on drugs. If not, logically you would understand that people in Chicago die over dissing people. We don't need to talk about the rappers who have already fallen. We already know who they are. Many of them have died behind dissing other dead rappers. It just makes sense to not do that, because obviously something might happen to you in a city like Chicago. Unfortunately, Spenzo didn't want to listen to that. And unfortunately, he got kidnapped and assaulted online. Now stop the show. Yeah, so the person that kidnapped him was named, I believe this is the Kiddo Curry guy. So he's the father of the dead man by the name of Tristan. I'm not going to play the clip, but anyways, the father really abused Mr. Spenzo, beat him up really bad, had the guy bleeding, had the guy apologizing and stuff like that. And again, let's look at the thought process here. What kind of person would do something like that, live stream it, put it on the internet as if you're not going to get caught? Again, that sounds like a brother, most likely raised by a single parent, or bad parenting in general. Now, I don't know if any of these men are raised by fathers, but I would take a guess that most likely this is not the case. And when we look at this in situations that occur like this, I noticed that one group of people are always left out: single moms. You see, whenever a black man goes out there and does something real crazy, then, well, I did the best I could with him. Like, oh man, these black men are hyper violent. These black men don't have any structure. But then let's just be honest. As a woman or as a parent, did you provide the right father for this young man? Or as a father, did you provide this young man with the right mother? Because we have some single fathers here. And to be fair, Spenzo was not attacked by this guy's mother. He was attacked by this guy's father, okay? I don't know if the father was married to his mother, but you see what happened. So the father's also in the streets, which would probably mean that the son learned what he learned from the father. But the whole thing is that bad parenting is at stake here. And we don't want to discuss those real issues, that we are really rearing black men that just can't solve problems. They can't conflict resolute at all. They have no ability to do that. They're emotional. They're hyper masculine. This is not every black man, but this is many. This is one of the reasons why we're afraid to go see our mom in the hood. We want to move out the hood because we just can't reason with these people. Because why? They're broken. But whenever broken black men come out into the world, we only blame broken black men for why they're in the world. But we never blame the people who had a hand in developing a lot of these broken black men. And the real idea is that a lot of these broken black men came up with no father in the house at all. It was not even in the plans. And when these guys can't be competitive, when they can't do anything right, it's always their fault. And I'm here to say, it's not always their fault all the way. Sure, it is their fault for making those decisions to where they get themselves in life. I honestly agree. You will not hear me argue with that. But here's something that I want to challenge. Who is helping these black men in what they're doing today? Who's exposing them to the negativity we're seeing? If you look at the whole situation with a lot of these Chicago rappers, who raised them? You're going to tell me that these people came from two-parent homes? That they came from a lot of love and a lot of support? I beg to differ. We know where they come from. We just only blame these guys when they end up like that and they can't think. And they end up dissing other people, and they don't have the ability to think about, like, you know what, if I diss this guy on social media, somebody's going to come out and do something to me. Or do they just don't care? They don't care. They don't care about living for tomorrow because they have nothing to live for. But when these black men come out, we only blame black men, and then the mothers of these black men go out and say, you know what, I need to get me a white man now. I'm tired of dealing with these black men. They're too violent. At the same time, maybe your son is already in the penitentiary for something violent. And that's something that we cannot deal with. We need both black men and black women to take accountability for the children that are being created in black America, which nobody wants to take any accountability for anything here. And that is the problem. That's why Spenzo could possibly lose his life if he haven't already, because from what I understand, nobody knows where he's at. And the guy who did it, it's probably obvious who did it. And he's going to go to jail for this over something on the internet. But guys, what do you think? It's your boy, O'Shea Duke Jackson, back at it again with another episode of The Celebrity Junk. I appreciate you for all that you do. Subscribe, hit the bell. We're out.